Hello people of the verse, how is everybody doing? It's the Eradicator, and in this video we will talk about the aftermath of the Xenothreat event, which has come to an end, unfortunately. And I think that I've personally had a really good time, but there are also a couple of things to talk about, and that's what we'll be doing in this video. Before we get started, guys, a huge thanks to Jinx5710 for becoming my latest Patreon member, as well as Marco Rap for becoming the latest join members. You guys keep the likes running on this show. Thank you very much. You should be having access to my Discord channel as well right now. Also, speaking of that, guys, this month I've got an exceptional giveaway, as I am giving away a Retaliator with lifetime insurance. All you have to do, the guys I'm winning, is to subscribe to the channel and answer the giveaway related question that I will be asking throughout the video. Also, for those who have access to my Discord channel, I am giving away a G12 with lifetime insurance as well. Alright guys, well, let's get started. We got a lot of things to talk about. I also wanted to give a big shout out to Morphologist for letting me join his group the other day, and that was the first time that I got to try phase 3, and that's going to be the footage that you will be seeing today. So I owe him this footage, and if you haven't subscribed to his channel, you also have the link in the recommended channels as well. Alright, well, let's talk about the positives here regarding this Xenothreat event, and the first thing I want to say is that it has been a lot of fun, and there's a lot of people here saying out there on Spectrum, on Reddit and other posts that this is the most fun they've ever had in Star Citizen. Some people go as far as saying that they have even more fun than they've ever had in Elite Dangerous. And I've got to say that despite the bugs, despite the limitations that we will be talking about later throughout this video, I would have to agree as well. This has been extremely fun, engaging in capital ship battles, having all those explosions around, being in that nebula that you can see here, which adds extra drama as well. And the fact that being surrounded by plenty of players with one common goal really brings together a huge sense of epicness to the event that I have never truly experienced in the verse before. Now, sure, the Idris mission, the destroy the Arlington Idris mission, it was kind of similar, but there are only a few handful fighters plus the Idris, which has been done over and over again. This event was a little bit different. There was first the drama with phase 1, where we were getting introduced to Xenothreat with their motivations and why they would bring chaos to the extension system. Then eventually the Xenothreat came. They destroyed those cargo ships in the nebula. We had to work together using the tractor beams and cargo ships to bring those special time-sensitive cargoes all the way to Jericho stations, and there were also ambushes at the same time, which provided jobs for everybody. Cargo haulers were happy, combat players were happy. Sometimes you had the occasional Xenothreat sympathizers, or supporter who would come and attack people, so players would gang together to send those guys to prison. I think that overall that was really a lot of fun. And finally, phase 3, which is what you are seeing here, which was the finale of the event, which is when the Idrises came to Jericho Station to attack Jericho Station, and the Javelin is finally ready for the fight. You could see the Javelin firing its huge guns eventually, with the fantastic sounds that surrounds all the action. Absolutely brings a lot of epic sense to the to your game experience. And this is something that you don't really get to see as well a lot in this. For example, in Dangerous, sure, you do have sometimes some capital ships that are fighting, but you do not have all the players coming together. And that is, in my opinion, the thing that makes the big difference here, is that, yeah, sure, there were a few NPCs, but in those events the players are the key. Well, probably because of the limitations again of the game, but in this case I think that CIG used the limitations to their own advantage, giving strong incentives for players to be joining as well. I think that it was very important that players get some significant financial rewards, because of course that is also very important. We've seen that in the past, when the rewards are not worth it, players are not that interested. But here we were getting, tens of thousands of Alpha UEC, hundreds of thousands of Alpha UEC, and this is what brought players as well. And I'm glad that CIG eventually finally got to learn from that too. Okay, the next thing that we can talk about here is the stability of both the game and the servers, which was a major concern of a lot of people, including myself on this channel. I've been talking about that quite a lot. I know my friend DG360 always talks about that too. Stability is the key to ensure the success of an event like that, because let's say you're in the middle of a fight and all of a sudden everybody gets a client crash, or let's say you work a lot, really hard to fill your ship with a lot of cargo, and then you get to Jericho Station. Just when you land, you get a 30k, which has happened to me once. Well, then it gets very frustrating. And as I said, I've clocked about over 30 hours of gameplay in this event overall, as I've been playing a lot, and I've only had one 30k error, which is, well, the least amount of 30k errors I've ever had in a very long time. I think the last time I've had such few 30ks in so many hours was perhaps in the days of 3.4, right? So that was really a long time ago. And I think that two factors here may be taken into consideration. The first has been that there's been a lot of optimization for this patch, right? This patch has been in the PTU and in Evoke ID for a long time. The devs have really worked a lot to get it as stable as possible. And the other reason, I think, is because they did remove Delamar. The removal of Delamar made it possible, unfortunately, and also they removed a couple of players too. That we went down from 50 to 40 players, and this also allowed us stability. And you can see that despite 40 players, and here in this particular group here in this server, we're not a lot. We're about 25 people, right? You can see that even with only 25 people playing at the same time, the frames per second are not that great. And well, we'll talk about that later, guys. I promised we were still talking about the good, but we'll talk about the bad too. Don't worry, guys. Alright, so the next thing I would like to talk about is capital ships, and I think that CIG really nailed how capital ships are working. There are a couple of tweaks that I would perhaps suggest, but that we'll also talk about later. But overall, we've moved from a stage. If you guys remember the early leaks with the Idris, people were reporting that the Idris, basically after like 1 hour of sending continuous torpedoes and firing at the Idris was still at 97% of shields, right? It is good to see that those capital ships are destructible. It is good to see that those capital ships do have fighters that cause some destruction. I wish that the fighters were a little bit more disruptive, and you know, the AI was perhaps a little bit smarter, but this, I believe, will come with better server stability. But overall, I think that fighting those capital ships is extremely fun. It is challenging. Those capital ships will kill you if you are not careful. But overall, I think the devs did find the right balance between power and vulnerability at the same time, and kudos to them for that. Alright, guys, well, that's about it for the positives regarding the Xenothreat event, but I would like to know also what you guys think, and this is going to be the giveaway question, guys. What has been your favorite part of the Xenothreat event, or I should say, what was your favorite part of the Xenothreat event, since it is over now? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and maybe you'll get a chance to win that beautiful Retaliator with lifetime insurance. Alright, guys, we talk about the good, now let's talk about the bad and the ugly. And as you can see here, I think that the bad is, or I should say, are the frames per second. And people have been saying, oh, your computer is so terrible, you have low frames. Actually, my specs are actually not that bad. Sure, my computer is about 2 years old now. It has a GeForce RTX 2070. It has 32 gigs of RAM. You know, it has 7 cores. You know, Intel i9000. 9975. So it's still quite okay. I think it's a pretty decent computer. But even with that computer, I'm still getting as low as sometimes 10 frames per second during the event. Sure, it has improved. I remember during the PTU, we were getting to some points where we were getting at less than 1 frame per second. We're not having those issues anymore. So again, kudos to CIG for fixing that. But the frames, especially, you know, the more players there are, the worse it gets. This is also something that needs to change. Oh, look at that explosion. See, beautiful, but that, unfortunately, it is in slow motion. It's always nice to see, right? Oh, I forgot. Yes, I'm seeing this. Another kudos here to CIG. You're going to see I am going to restock the ship, and it finally is working. So that has been fixed. This has been something that has been bugged for many years in Star Citizen, going to the platforms and not being able to restock your ship. The ammos here, you can see, boom, I'm getting my missiles back. I'm also only at 55% of fuel capacity, so I'm going to refill the fuel right now. Hydrogen fuel here. Oh, boom, it's going up there soon. There we go, hydrogen fuel being refilled. In the past, this was not working, so I'm glad that this is finally working. But unfortunately, the star map, as you can see here, the star map is still a mess, and we haven't had a new star map. Now, we know that there's going to be a new star map, hopefully coming up in the future. They're going to build a new star map with building blocks. That old star map was, from the old UI back in the Star Citizen 2.x days. Some of that legacy code is really not optimized at all. Now, going back to the frames, this year there is going to be one particular element that is going to, I believe, upgrade the frames, or at least improve the frames, and that is how the game is not going to render the interior of the ships when you are playing. For example, I'm going back to the battle now, and back to the battle, you can see that there will be all the other player ships. Well, it turns out that as I am playing here, all of the objects that you're seeing here, now all of the objects are being streamed thanks to object container streaming. I get to see all of them, but at the same time, the interior of those ships are also taken under consideration in my client. Not only do I see the exterior of those ships, but my client is also taking under consideration the interior of those ships. This is something that will change this year. This year, when that feature gets online, the clients will only take under consideration, will only compute the exteriors and what is only visually seeable from the player's perspective, and not the interiors of those ships that are around you. All those NPCs, the interiors right now are being computed just for, just like the same as the players. All those players that you see around, in theory, I should be able to see their interior. That is not going to be the case anymore, and that is extremely resource hungry. That is taking a lot of resources that is going to be released eventually in the future. Our clients will no longer need to compute those interiors, and that, in theory, should significantly improve performance as well, which is why I believe that when this item is going to come online, then we should have a significant upgrade, a significant boost of frames per second, because it is going to release a tremendous amount of pressure on our clients. Now, unfortunately, this is a feature that is only going to come in Star Citizen Alpha 3.15 by quarter 3 2021, so it's going to take a long time. Now, the other thing that I thought was a little bit nasty sometimes was the servers. Now, of course, I did mention that there have been very few 30k errors, and that is cool, right? Don't get me wrong, but I think that sometimes the servers were stalling because, especially during Phase 3, guys, I have only been able to experience Phase 3 once, and this is the one that you're seeing on this footage. You're like, oh my god, there's Phase 3, I gotta record that footage, because, who knows if I'll be able to experience it a second time. And I did not, right? I did not. And the reason for that is because every time, and for the past couple of days, every time I connected to the servers, Phase 3 was stuck in some kind of state where we had to go to the wreck sites and nothing was happening. You could stay there for hours and hours and hours, and people would just be waiting and nothing would be happening. The event would just stall. And this is something that unfortunately the devs have not figured out. I think that this only happens when, like, you were not in a fresh server and you were going to a server that had already had multiple Phase 3, and at some point it would just not repeat anymore. The server, it's not like the server would die, but the event would die within the server. I think that's pretty much how it happened. And if this has happened to you as well, let me know in the comments down there too. So yeah, these were some of the nasty things that I experienced. The bad frames and the server being sometimes a little bit weird. I think that also the crime stat system needs to be reworked a little bit. There's been a lot of players who have had accidental crime stat, by friendly firing friendly ships a little bit too much. and then they ended up, being... Fortunately, it's only a crime stat 1, and it was not a crime stat 2, so when they died, they had to go to Grim X and not to prison. So that must have been a relief, because when you get to prison, especially if the prisons are broken, it's basically game over until your prison sentence is finished, right? But still, nevertheless, it takes away a lot of gameplay from the event from those players, and that was not a lot of fun. So I think that CIG still need to tweak a little bit. In my opinion, I would give a little bit more tolerance when it comes to friendly fire, and only get the crime stat if the ship is not the shields are hit, but if the ship is starting to have some damage, that's when you get a crime stat, and not necessarily if the shields are gone. That would be my suggestion here regarding friendly fire. But that's pretty much it for the pros and cons regarding that event. Overall, I thought that this event was a huge success. It was a lot of fun. It brought some players to the game as well, because we're having a free fly event at the same time, and it was a great case to show how much progress Star Citizen has made over the past couple of years, but even over the couple past of months. A few months ago, I would not have imagined something like that possible. A lot of people were depressed about the state of Star Citizen, especially considering how boring and lackluster 2020 was. We are starting 2021 with a bang, and I am extremely excited about it. Look at that. Look at all of those missiles here. Look at all the game computing all those missiles here going through that Idris here, which eventually is going to blow. That is absolutely epic. I would not have imagined this possible, but this is all of the efforts combined from the previous patches coming all together for that result, and I cannot wait for the next events. Now, of course, the next events are not going to be maybe as exciting as this one. There's obviously going to be the Ninetales lockdown. Boom, there we go. It goes down like that. It's going to be the Ninetales event. I think that the next step is going to get the players access to the bad guys side, because you can only play as the good guys in this event, but a lot of players wanted to play as the bad guys too. This is going to come later, further down the line, when we get the Ninetales event. And yeah, that is going to be also how to integrate the reputation system to those events is also going to be important too. We'll be seeing all of that in the future. And that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'll be looking forward to CIG's version of their own postmortem. That was my own player perspective postmortem. CIG will have their own as well coming up probably this week too on their website. I'll be reporting about that as well on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later. This video is brought to you by the people who support this channel on Patreon and via the join button as well. Supporters of the channel get access to lots of cool perks, such as access to my private Discord, your question answered in the show, you get to know when I'm going to play, and also you get to have a chance to influence the editorial line of the channel. Any help is appreciated, starts at just $1 a month. Thank you very much for watching. This is the Eradicator, and I'll see you guys later.